कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकि कोकिलम्। रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेधसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीताया पतये नमः। जयत्याश्रितसन्त्रास ध्वान्तविध्वंसनोदयः प्रभावान् सीतया देव्या परमव्योमभास्करः परमव्योमभास्करः।
श्रीमते निगमान्त महादेशिकाय नमः। Well, we have observed of Sita narrating a very different story to Rama. We may have thought, isn't this narration, isn't this content of the story a bit out of context? Sita initially says, Rama, you have been sticking to Satyam, Dharmam. You have religiously, sincerely followed the words, the commands of your father, Pitruvakya Paripalana. I am very proud of you. Then later says that there was this Indra of Amaravati who, in order to keep his sword with the scabbard safe, leaves it at the custody of a Maharishi who gracefully accepts to protect or safeguard the sword. In order to keep the sword safe, he brings the sword which was at a distance to his proximity. Then he reduces his time of performing austerities and deep penances and concentrates on the sword. Then playfully takes the sword off the scabbard and starts fluttering it high in the air. And then sees the animals pass left to right. In order to check if the sword was sharp, he chops the animals. Later becomes a warrior. So this story of a rishi, an innocent rishi becoming a violent warrior, is what is narrated by Sita. I remember my school days of a very celebrated poem, Tiger, Tiger burning bright in the forests of the night. So the poet in that English poem takes the reader across the transformation process of an innocent lamb to a very violent, wrathful tiger. So, a lamb becomes a tiger. Similarly, a rishi has become a warrior. Why? Why should Sita say this? She is trying to gauge the situation and say, see, a rishi whose general duty or qualities is to remain calm, to engage in austerities, when he is in association with a weapon, over a period of time becomes a kshatriya, a warrior. Similarly, Rama, you are born a kshatriya, you were nurtured and nourished to be a kshatriya, meant to protect the rishi and the subjects. And based on that, the rishis came and sought your asylum. They wanted you to annihilate the demoniac forces and you gave them abhaya pradhanam, telling them, don't worry, I will annihilate. Till now, you have not done anything. Maybe, Rama, you are born a kshatriya, you are nourished to be a kshatriya with that power to fight, kshatra. But maybe in the due course of moving with these rishis, soft, tender, innocent, humble rishis, you have also become a rishi. Like how a rishi became a warrior, you were a warrior and now you have become a rishi. That is why you are not keeping up your promise. This was the hidden message in Sita's story. Sita did not tell this openly. Rama, Kosaraha, sa ingitagyaha. They know how to understand lines and between lines and body language and eye gestures. So when Sita said this is the story, Rama immediately understood that she was reminding him to keep up or fulfill his promise to the rishis. That is when Rama says, Apyaham jeevitam jagnyam tvam vasite sa lakshmanam natuf pratigyam samshrutya brahmanebhyo visheshataha. Apyaham jeevitam jagnyam, more than me. Tvam vasite sa Lakshmana, more than the life of you and my brother Lakshmana. You know what is important more than you, more than my brother, more than me? Natuf pratigyam samshrutya brahmanebhyo visheshata. When sages come and ask for help, and I promise them, that promise is the foremost to me more than my life, your life and Lakshmana's life. So Rama answers Sita, telling her, don't worry, I have not forgotten. Then Sita will be worried. See, Sita wanted this reply, but Rama, in the due course of telling that I will keep up my promise, I will fulfill my promise, he says, more than my life, more than Lakshmana's life, more than your life, my promise is important. Then he must have thought in the hindsight, see, Sita will be upset with this over enthusiasm from my side. Immediately he course corrects himself and says, Sadrisham chanurupam cha kulasya tava shobhane sadharmacharini me tvam pranebhyopi gariyasi. But you are very dear to me, Sita. He course corrects. So initially he says, more than anybody else's life, the promise that I have given is of utmost importance. He then course corrects that you are very dear to me. This reassures that he will take care of the promise. Now, let's continue our sojourn, because Rama has visited the ashrama of Bharadwaja, of Atri, of Valmiki, of Sharabhanga, of Sutikshna. Now he comes across the hermitage of Mandakarnina. So, that is one rishi. And it is said in the past that once this rishi's penances were disturbed by the devas, that we come across in all our Puranas. There will be impediments for any good job. Then the devas dispatch 5 Apsara Stris. The rishi who was cognizant of Indra and the devas' plan that they had hatched to disturb his austerities, curses that this particular place where they were dancing and trying to lure him will be an impediment for them to cross and will become a huge lake. So that lake was called as Panchapsaraha. Based on the Apsaras, it was called Panchapsaraha. Now, Sita, upon understanding this legend to this lake, tells Rama that, see, I can still manage to hear the playing of some instruments here and there. Maybe it's coming from the lake. We don't know. Then after having told this, Lakshmana constructs hermitage here and there. And they stay in one particular place, in certain places for 5 months, in certain places for 6 months, in certain places for 10 months, in certain places for a year, in certain places for 2 years, then come back to weeks, then go to months. So Valmiki describes this process of covering the first 10 to 11 years in one shloka. Kvachit paridashan masan yeka samvatsaram kvachit क्वचित् चतुरो मासान् पञ्चषट् परान् क्वचित् अपरात्राधिकान् मासान् अर्धमधिकं क्वचित् त्रीन् मासानष्टमासांश्च राघवो न्यवसत् सुखम्. So he tells this. Now Sutikshna tells Rama, see, you have stayed in many of these places. Rama, if you allow me to suggest, I suggest, make up your mind to go meet Agastya very soon. Immediately you go meet Agastya, because Agastya must have been around that region. Roughly you can take it as lower Madhya Pradesh and upper Maharashtra. That region he would have lived. Yadi buddhi krita drashtum Agastyam tam mahamunim adhyaiva gamane buddhim rochayasva mahamate. You are a great mind. Adhyaiva gamane buddhim. If my memory serves me right, trust me, go immediately. Then he tells, what is the history of Agastya Maharshi? He was called as Kumbha Muni. Literally, it means he was born of a pot. So, some research scholars say that the in vitro fertilization that we talk about, IVF, must have existed then. So, that petri dish must have been that pot. Some people say that mother's garbham itself is like a pot. Uterus itself is like a container. So, he was born of the container, which means pot, which is uterus. So, Kumbha Muni. Many composers invoke Agastya as the one born of a pot. Muthuswami Dikshitar, a great composer of Sanskrit compositions around the 18th century, says, Pura Kumbha Sambhava Munivara Prapujitam Trikona Madhyagatam Murari Pramukhadhyupasitam Mooladhara Kshetra Sthitam Pura Kumbha Sambhava Munivara. Kumbha Sambhava Muni, which is Agastya. Great Maharshi. When I say great Maharshi, immediately people who are not used to such names will think he will be 10 feet height. He was the shortest Maharshi. Shortest, like a dwarf. He was Agastya. So, there is a previous flashback to this Rishi. While he was travelling from the north of India and crossing the Vindhyas, he crossed this region where there were many demons. This is Janasthana. So, there were two brothers called Vātāpi and Ilvala. So, these two brothers had one unique trait. They would love to consume the flesh of Maharishis. Somehow they had this liking for Maharishi's flesh. So, what they used to do was, they would convert themselves into Maharishis. They would come in the disguise of Maharishis instead of being in the disguise of Rakshasas. So, what they would do is, they would ask the Maharishi, any passing by Maharishi, to come to their hermitage. So, this Ilvala used to convert his brother Vātāpi using mantra shakti into certain flesh balls and used to serve that particular Rishi who had come for food. And then he would call Vātāpi, and then Vātāpi, who was inside as a flesh ball within the Maharishi's stomach, would tear open and come out in his original form, and this Rishi will be dead because he was tore open. Then they will consume the flesh, like how we have the human flesh eaters in some of the civilizations, cannibals we say, right? So, they would consume this Rishi's flesh. It was happening time and again, and people were worried to go by that region because they wouldn't know in which disguise Vātāpi and Ilvala would come. So, while Agastya Maharishi was walking southwards, Vātāpi and Ilvala called Agastya Maharishi. Vātāpi was converted into flesh balls. Ilvala served these flesh balls very reverentially with respect to Agastya. Agastya, as he consumed, he knew this was different. So, even before Ilvala could say Vātāpi, Vātāpi, Agastya, by the time Ilvala opened his mouth, Vātāpi, Agastya completed that sentence, Jirno Bhava, he is digested. So, Agastya in a way brought an end to Vātāpi, and Ilvala was also killed in this process. Now comes a very important question. When he knew that they were flesh balls, why should he consume? Can a Maharishi consume flesh, non-vegetarian food? The answer is, Brahmanas in a very earlier Vedic past, from the references available, were consuming meat. Reason? Next episode. Dear Astika reader, I am happy to be authoring a two-part book on the Ramayana in English. The first part is slated for release in the year 2024. The book aims to recreate and retell the Ramayana of Valmiki, conforming to the ancient commentaries and other allied literature. To receive notifications of the book release, kindly register with www.deshikadaya.org/books. Namaskaram.